Welcome one and all to the bellicose nation. Pussy-Riot. Pussy-Riot is before now an unheard of Russian punk style band who have been charged, convicted, and now sentenced to 2 years for desecrating the church and altar of Moscow's Cathedral of Christ the Savior, as they took their feminist-inspired exhibitionist act right into the church and right up to the altar, with the intent to make some anti-Putin statement, complete with vulgarity and contempt. Apparently, they feel Putin and the Orthodox Church are just a little bit too chummy. They were charged with hooliganism. What a name. Aimed at inciting religious hatred. And from everything we can see, these folks are guilty as charged. You know, this type of stuff is typical left-wing activity, where the left believes what they have to say is so important, so meaningful, they can cross any boundary, insult any person, and use any method that comes to mind to express themselves. Now, for you who don't know, and that's most of us, Pussy-Riot is not just a typical no-talent, three-chord punk band. No, they have a penchant for exhibitionism. They will use any offensive behavior to put on a public display and get attention, and this time around, they just went too far. Naturally, many voices, especially on the left, are supporting this group, but I say, hell no, lock them up. This is not about art or the free expression of ideas. This is about abuse. It is about self-centeredness, that constant liberal attitude which vaunts their opinion, what they feel is important above everyone else. Now, let me ask you this. You know, these folks, they went into this cathedral in Moscow, marched right up to the altar, and despite the fact that the security was trying to stop them, they proceeded on with their act of desecration, making signs of the cross, calling out Mary's name, and all this. Now, let me ask you, what would have been the response if this was a neo-Nazi group, who instead of going into that cathedral, they had went into a Jewish temple or a Holocaust museum and set up and started to carry on like this, spouting their art? What do you think would have happened? How about if they had gone into a mosque down in the Caucasus and tried this stuff? Do you think they would have even got out alive? Imagine the cry for blood had in the USA a white supremacy group took over a black church in such a way. Would a 2-year sentence have been too much? I don't think so. I am sick and tired of the expectation that the Christian faith should tolerate this stuff. Now, naturally, the Russian people do not put up with this type of social offense nearly as much as most Western countries do. In fact, even feminism is not a popular notion over there, not even with women. So this band was clearly out of its element on all accounts. You know, when I learned of this story, my hope was that these artists would be brought down a peg or two, that they would understand their need for attention does not give them license to seek it anywhere they want. They don't need to be lynched, but they and everyone else should know the Christian faith is protected as much as any other. 2 years in the slammer sounds reasonable to me, not only to teach the offenders a lesson, but to send a public message out to all others who are having trouble articulating their opinions in a civil way. Well, you know, they say there's a silver lining behind every cloud. And I guess for these ladies, they now really will be famous. They can now sell CDs and iPhone covers, and thankfully for them, the demographics which buy this stuff will not be very demanding when it comes to actual music ability. But then again, it's punk music, which is more about image than actually being in tune, and they know that. Well, if you think the 2-year sentence was too much, if you think the 2-year sentence should have been longer, If you want to weigh in on the case, have at it. I want to hear what you got to say. Also, feel free to subscribe and all that. Until the next time, this is the Bellicose Nation, changing the world, one video at a time.